The first one was to feed all to turn the stones into bread. Do magic. Turn the stones into bread and feed yourself and everybody else. That was the temptation of Christ, to do a good deed. Whoa, well. Bible mistranslation is full of good deeds. In fact, that's what it does, is it puts a spin on the Bible that maligns God, glorifies man, takes Christ's head off in Matthew 16:18 and puts Peter's on top, and then, hawks the good deed thing. Well, KJV-Only is nothing if it isn't hawking good deeds. You're so good if you believe that only the King James Version is from God. That's reversing the truth. That's magic. The magical King James Version only is the one that's right. That's magic. That's turning stones into bread. So you got rocks in your belly. Second temptation. Oh, this one was clever. Satan takes out a small little piece in Psalm 91, and by cutting that part out and then quoting the verse without that part, he reverses the meaning of the verse. You can look that up in Matthew 4 and look up the cross references. Well, that's what the KJV does. I mean, haven't you seen it? Cuts out Christ's head, puts Peter's on top. Just by changing the letter for Petros to a capital, but leaving Christ's own Petra as lowercase. See? Cuts it out. We saw that with the Holy Spirit, with the capitalization of pros. Reversed it by capitalizing the letter. See, it's a tactic of Satan's. The human translators didn't know what hit them. Alright? You saw that especially in Hebrews 11:1, in the last episode, where people were turned into things. Okay? Simply by cutting out the fact that the plurals were plurals that people do. Things don't see, things don't believe, things aren't on trial, people are. And of course Christ was cut off and turned into a thing, because hypostasis is a very well-known name for him. We say hypostatic union. The writer of Hebrews uses it as a nickname, as I showed you. And suddenly he's a thing. See? Cut it out. Cut out that part and just reverse it. And that's what Satan did in the second temptation. Now, the third temptation is the most obvious of all. Christ was offered all the kingdoms of the world. Yeah, every Christian falls for that one. All the kingdoms of the world is what the KJV-Only movement is after. They're out to have the whole world just scrap the Hebrew and the Greek, scrap the lexicons, and just use the KJV English, even to the point of the Kabbalistic counting of the letters. Because every letter in the KJV is perfect. See the magic? That's first temptation. It cuts out the words in favor of the letters. That's the second temptation. Therefore reverses the Bible into a circus act. Just like the Bible codes people do. Only it's English this time. And the third temptation, all the world is supposed to have the King James Bible in English. And some people even think that if you don't have it in English, you're not able to be saved. See? That's the whole world third temptation right there. So, of course, the fifth characteristic is that the one telling you the false doctrine always makes cultic, one true faith claims, such that the speaker and or his sect is as holy as God or his word. KJV-Only in English, a language Christ never spoke and never learned, is as holy as the word he learned. Because remember, Gail Ripplinger is telling you to cut out the lexicons. They're all by these liberal theologians, and we've seen that's not true. If anything, the theologians and the lexicons are copying the King James and deferring to it too much. So this cultic claim of one true faith, just as holy as God or his word, yeah, divorcing you from God and His Word in favor of a translation which we've seen now is pretty damning of itself. But of course you're discouraged from questioning the authority of the KJV-Only people, and you're definitely discouraged from checking the Bible for yourself, because how are you going to check it if you don't have the original to look at? How are you going to check it if you're not allowed to look at the lexicons? Do you see that this is the same claim that Catholicism made when it sequestered the Bible for centuries? You couldn't get your hands on an original language Bible. All you could get your hands on was a translation, the Vulgate. So now Satan's playing the same game again, this time with English. You see that? That's characteristic number 5. And you're considered a heretic if you dispute or question or test. Hint, hint. So now we have number 6. Respectability is always used to mask the falsehood and make it seem true. So looks, degrees, popularity, and sincerity are all used to sell the lie in question. Okay, now I don't mean to keep singling out Gail Ripplinger, but she's being touted as the person. Okay, and what's said about, oh, she's a professor. They don't tell you what it is of. Professor of interior design. That's what she taught, interior design, not Bible. She can't even read the Hebrew and Greek, and we've already proven that she doesn't know what Lucifer means in Latin, which any school child can know. Okay, but they say professor, then they say she taught for 10 years. But yeah, but she didn't teach anything related to this, and she can't even read the language, so anything she says about it isn't qualified at all, especially if she doesn't even know what Lucifer means. But her looks, her degrees, her popularity, oh, she wrote 17 books. See, that's an appeal to popularity. And her sincerity, nobody can doubt. I mean, just listen to her talk for 5 seconds if you can stomach it. Okay, and it's not just her, it's Ruckman. He's a real basket case. And what about Jack Chick? Oh, yeah. These are the people who are hawking the movement. And of course, they're the ones saying that she is well researched. Well, they wouldn't know. What are their qualifications? 0. They can't read the Greek or Hebrew either. If they could, they would distance themselves from her. They don't know what Lucifer means either. Either that or they're dishonest. Take your pick. Now, that's them, and again, I don't want to single them out because there are millions of people falling for these folks. So what's the excuse of all the pastors? They have access to the Hebrew and Greek. How come they don't know what it means? How come they don't know what Lucifer means? Oh, because they're given into respectability. Falsehood characteristic number 6 is an appeal to respectability. Right? So, characteristic number 7, in order to sell the lie, other people are used or cited as authorities rather than the Bible itself. Well, who's making the lecture circuit? Not the Bible. And what's being taught? Oh, you should look at the letters of the Bible and they're equidistant. Okay, but they'll sell it, and they'll sell it with people. And the Bible itself is not looked at because they're listening to the people. So number 8, falsehood will always be popular, and people will not check the Bible to test the claims, and they haven't, obviously. Millions of people now are to blame. You can't blame the leaders. The leaders are obviously either lying or incredibly stupid. Okay, but what's the excuse of everybody else? What's the excuse of the pastors? Oh, it's popular. That's what they're giving into. That's what people give into. Oh, it's popular. It's popular to say. Yeah, because everybody's lazy and they really don't want to look at the word God preserved for 3,000 years. They think it's hard. It's not hard. Did you find it hard to learn the things that you saw in the last, 12, 15 videos? That wasn't hard. Especially if you use 1 John 1:9, I bet you even remember it. That wasn't hard. It wasn't hard to say. Wasn't hard to look at, wasn't hard to learn. You didn't have to work at it. Okay, but falsehood will always be popular and people will not check the Bible to test the claims. That was number 8. So number 9, falsehood therefore always appeals to one's emotion or intellect, pseudo-intellectuality in this case, and your emotion being appealed to is, oh, I'm special if I only believe in the KJV. The other emotion being appealed to is, oh, phew, I don't have to work at learning that Hebrew and Greek. Yeah, never mind the trouble the Lord went to. Never mind the fact that you can learn the very same words that Moses actually wrote, that Christ actually learned, that Paul actually wrote, his own real words, the Lord's own real words. Don't you want to know what those words are? No, you don't. Not if you want to know a translation. Then it isn't God you want. It's to be proud of yourself is what you want instead, and that's the emotion being appealed to. So number 9 again, falsehood therefore always appeals to one's emotion or intellect, but not to the Bible. Since if you did check the Bible, as we did in these last 15 videos, you could prove the falsehood false.